everybody, welcome back to another fun and exciting episode of Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast. We are here for you every single week, twice a week, to make sure that you are learning how to be your best self, to live the lawyer life and, make less mistakes and do more things that are going to positively impact your life. As you guys know, I'm continually bringing on guests that are useful and helpful and wonderful to help you on this journey. Today is no different. I've got Michael waiting in the wings. How's it going, man?
Going awesome, Steve. How you doing today?
Good. I said the name of the band Warrant a few minutes ago, and your eyes lit up. So we were talking about death metal. That led to my son's interest in hair metal, and then I start talking Warrant and Poison and Motley Crue and all these bands. Is that of interest to you? Is that the genre that you love, or do you go into more death metal stuff?
Well, I was born in the late 70s, so the 80s hair metal bands were important, very critical to me in like third, fourth, fifth grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I came up in the 80s and I used to watch MTV. That was like what we did as kids. And so, you get,
Yeah.
the Here We Go Again on Our Own and, all the videos
Yes.
that made up my childhood anyway. Um,
Beautiful.
it's funny. I took my son to see a tribute band called Jump, which was a Van Halen, David Lee Roth tribute band. And they were freaking spot on. I mean, word for word, note for note. The guy dressed and looked just like David Lee Roth. It was real. My son was up against the stage the whole time and just rocking with the band. Anyway, memories, good memories.
Beautiful memories. Yeah,
It
that's
may
amazing.
it may be a good segue into our quote of the show. Now, this is Be That Lawyer First, everybody. This is a verse from a song that Michael feels is uplifting. And I'm just going to give it to you. Then I want to hear why, what you love about it and why it's special to you. Here we go. If you want to make a difference in the world, it means you have to be different from the world you see. Free yourself from burdens that you know exist. Don't carry the curse of the fatalist. Wow. All right. So you guys might have to hear that again, but talk to me about that song and that lyric and why it's meaningful to you. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. So that particular lyric and many other lyrics from that band are meaningful to me in a way that I didn't expect. But I'd been listening to them for a while in this particular song and that particular lyric, because what I find in my work, I'm in sales, which we'll get to, but I meet a lot of successful people. And what I recognize in most of them is that they have an internal locus of control. They see that they have an effect on their life, the world around them. They choose what they do and how they want to be successful. And when I hear that lyric about setting a vision for yourself, being different from the environment you might see that you want to change, right? Taking an active role in that change, and also not allowing yourself to say, well, you know what, if it was meant to be, it would happen. That sort of fatalist attitude. The people I network with tend to make change for themselves. And that's what that lyric means to me. So I like hearing it. It inspires me at the gym, and I'll keep listening.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to, heavy metal, death metal and all that, where, if you're looking to work out, it's probably some pretty good heart pounding type of music to listen to. And my son is into it right now. He's doing School of Rock and he's just crazy into heavy metal and hair metal and all that. I hear him jamming in the basement. And I just kind of nod my head like, yeah, man, this is going to get interesting. Um, well, very
Amazing.
cool, Michael. You are the director of business development at Arc Ledge Accounting, and we met. I'm not trying to remember where we met, but you're out in New York, and do everyone a favor and a solid, and just give a little background on kind of how you came to be and working with lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long journey. I've been in sales for going on about 25 years, all in outsourced or fractional business services. We moved to the New York area about 10 years ago, and didn't really have much of a network in place. I had to kind of start from scratch. Eventually, though, through networking, I met my now CEO. I've been working with Naman at ArcLedge for almost 8 years now. And day one, or through the interview process, it was made clear to me, hey, we don't have real marketing. We don't do cold calls. It's all networking based. So you're going to go network and people will refer you. I'm like, okay, well, I'll do my best. We're in New York City. New York has a ton of attorneys. You get out and network in the space, you're going to meet attorneys. So it's just kind of a natural extension of where we are geographically. that led down that path. The first deal I ever closed with ArcLedge was a solo attorney. Someone I'm close to, I think the world of, and I'm happy that she's a client. But yeah, I just extended from there. The work we do with them is fantastic. I think we enjoy them as clients because typically they understand their value, right? There's work they do is very critical. Generally, they're represent a significant investment from their client's perspective. And so they're looking for a solid team that they can get things done without their concern.
Yeah. I mean, it's a regular occurrence for me to beat up on my clients for delegating, to delegate more. And bookkeeping is at the very top of the list of things most lawyers should, or maybe all lawyers shouldn't be doing. Um,
Yeah.
and how to automate and how to just really, take the stuff that isn't $500 an hour work or whatever you're charging as a rate and just outsourcing it. It's just like you've got to open up those gaps of time. So I love what you're up to. And you also tell us a little bit about your marketing activities outside of networking, things that you're doing now, podcasting and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the main body of our lead generation comes through networking, and I like to find great opportunities like this to be on a good podcast that's specific to a group of people. It's fun to have the conversation. I think we can drive some value for folks, but it's twofold, right? Today, we're going to have a conversation that's going to deliver value to your listeners, which is amazing. But most of my work as a networker is staying top of mind with my network. So I'm absolutely going to promote this conversation on LinkedIn or any other social media that I use for ArcLedge to stay top of mind with people and to say, hey, look, I'm out here. I'm meeting great people like Steve. We're serving the legal community. You should check out our conversation.
Yeah.
That's a big part of why I might create content. It's really right now, it's less about driving traffic to a landing page, and it's more about top of mind awareness and personal branding.
Yeah. So let's sort of go through like the birth and life and continuation of networking. So let's say that there's a lawyer that's listening right now that isn't networking and maybe there has had bad experiences with it. But what are some things that you recommend to get ready to network, to prepare to network and start growing business that way?
Yeah. If I were an attorney who is newer to networking or coming back to networking, I would want to think about two core audiences that I have as an attorney, right? The work that attorneys do is very technical and it can't, right? That's just the nature of the work. So you have to be prepared to talk to someone like me. I'm in accounting. I'm a salesperson. I have a lot of conversations with attorneys, but if you hit me with technical legal speak as it relates to what you do, I might understand some of it, but it's going to be very difficult for me to recognize opportunities with my clients or with my other networking partners that I could refer to you.
Yeah.
Right. So what I would say is think about your technical community. That would be your other attorneys. And how would you communicate with them? Then think of how you would explain what you do to a high schooler. That's how you should be communicating to the general networking group, usually through stories. I had some work in this industry. A business was having this challenge. I was able to help them get over that hump. Here were the details of it. Here's what they got out of the interaction. Here's what they're doing now, that type of thing. Because that makes it a lot easier for the general population to recognize opportunities, which is the key.
And even lawyers, I think, that are in different areas would prefer it being dumbed down, to high school. I'd say third grade level, but that's okay. That's just me. And so, I talk about, telling stories, third party. I also like the idea of observing and sharing pain points. So for example, if I'm working with lawyers and I meet with, someone that could refer me, I would say, I'm working with lawyers who don't have any background in business development, but need and want to grow their book of business. They generally don't know how to write and create an effective business plan for how they're going to approach the market. So that's going to resonate with someone who says, oh, Steve helps with business plans. Okay. And then I might say, and they're frustrated because they don't really have processes for how to approach networking and all the different elements that are in business development. And the person might think, oh, he helps people with processes. So as I give those pain points, it might resonate better than me saying, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, which I think we know just puts people to sleep.
100%.
Yeah.
I fully agree with you. Stories are great. I love stories. They're quick, they're concise, they convey an enormous amount of detail, and they're memorable.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so And the other preparation point that I would maybe put out there is think about where the best targets are for you. So, for example, if I'm a lawyer in estate planning and I'm going to go to an estate planning association with the Chicago Bar Association, okay, great, but know that you're going to be in a room with other estate planners. But if I'm an estate
Right.
planner, I think I need to meet financial planners, I need to meet CPAs, and I need to meet business owners. Where are they? Right. So talk a little bit about selection of where to go.
Yeah. I mean, what you just said right now is definitely the critical piece. It is, I see it, it's very common. Oh, I'm a member of this bar association or that. And that's fantastic. But you got to get out of that community a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think one thing I would add to what you said, though, is that you need to think about your end client, right? In the trust and estate world, I know attorneys who work with what they call like mass affluent, right? Upper middle class people. They definitely have assets, and and there's things that they need to be concerned with. But there's a whole nother level, certainly in the New York, northern New Jersey area, where there's truly affluent people. They have enormous assets. They need all sorts of work that is much more complicated. And I know trust and estate attorneys that focus in on that as well. And if that's the case, right, you mentioned financial planners. Well, there are financial planners who work with the general population, and then there are financial planners who work with extremely wealthy people. And being aware of where you want to be or what your skill set will support, and then targeting those networking partners that are already working with those clients is going to serve you a lot better than not putting the thought into it first. It's a
Yeah.
big difference. Um, the other thing is, well, I don't want to carry on to. I'm going to answer that question and let you
Okay.
ask him.
Well, no, we're listen, this is all a free flow of ideas to try to make sure that the lawyers listening right now have, pen and paper out, or unless they're driving in, like, taking notes and like really thinking about like what are you doing well that's working, and then what can you take away from a conversation like this where you say, you know what, I am saying I do this, I do this, I do this, and not giving pain points, or I am going to events where I'm basically in a room with my competitors versus like being in a room as an estate planner where you want to work with millionaires. Where are those millionaires? Are they at charities? Are they on
Hmm.
boards? Are they at the local private clubs? Playing sports and golf and things like that. Like, how am I going to get in a room with those people or the connectors to those people? That's really the two types of events or groups that you want to target and focus on. If you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with high end people and you're dealing with a CPA who's working with ma and pa, local Joes on the street, that's not going to be as good as people who work with business owners and that have significant 100-person companies. They're going to obviously be much more affluent.
100% true. I would say that the big differentiator for success in getting in front of the right networking partners is thinking about your ask, right? So if you and I are networking and I'm trying to go up market, right, my ask has to be specific. And my ask might sound like, I'm really looking to meet financial advisors who work with high net worth people. The type of T&E work that I do is really best received by family wealth, generational wealth, people who have experienced a giant liquidity event. Maybe they sold a business for 50 to $100 million. And I'm really good at helping them protect that money as part of an overall financial advisory team, right? And being able to articulate that and ask for the introductions like that will help those people know, hey, you know what, there's not much I can do for you, which is fine. Or, hey, you know what, I don't know a lot of people in that space, but I do have a friend. He's a financial advisor and his minimum is 10 million in investable assets. Maybe he's a good place or she is a good place for you to go. And then you repeat that ask again, because that person then will have other people that they network with. That's the only way to get in front of the right people. Your ask has to be super tight.
Well, and what you're bringing up that most people don't think about, but I'm going to put a title to it or a word to it that I think will resonate with people as we're talking, is you're qualifying. You're not meeting with everyone. There are people that you can qualify, don't deal in the same world that you're in. So they're not going to be someone you need to meet with dozens of times. They're someone that you met with. They don't have a direct connection for you for business, but they know someone that is more in your space. Can they just make that one-time connection to you to the person that deals with $10 million dollar net worth folks and make that introduction. Now that person might be the one that's qualified for you to stick with and hang with and network with on a more consistent basis. So I think sharing the intention of who and what you're looking for to get them qualified in or out is going to be at the heart of how we invest our time wisely.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. I would say, depending on your strategy in networking, though, especially if you're a newer networker, right? We use the example early on here, someone who has had some bad experiences or maybe isn't getting results. Be careful over qualifying before you have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You never know who they know.
Right.
You can start with a 30-minute conversation and really kind of put the pieces together if they're a good long-term networking partner for you. But you each may have a very relevant intro, and maybe that's all either of you get out of that relationship, but that can be very powerful just the same.
Yeah. I would say it to some degree it's time based. I start off my book, the Attorney's Networking Handbook, with saying no one has wasted more time networking than I have. And I joke about it because I was meeting with the local Avon lady. I was meeting with the Amway salesman. I was meeting with a PR company that wanted $10,000 a month and I'm like a startup one person thing. I'm like, it was like a 2.5 hour meeting. I just wanted to kill myself. Like I wanted to do it. It sounded great. I'm going to get in Forbes, but give me a break. Like, I'm a nobody in Highland Park, Deerfield, Illinois, starting up a coaching, business. But I had the time in that moment. I had the time to meet with everybody. And one of my largest clients came from someone who was selling nutritional products. So I never would have gotten that very large client however, there are attorneys that are billing, 40, 50, 60 hours a week or whatever. And if they want to be in a position to be strategic, you're going to miss out on some things, but you're going to maybe gain more by being strategic. So I think it's time-based a little bit. Michael, does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. And it's funny because one of my first large deals came to me through someone who sold through an MLM health product.
Okay.
So absolutely, I'm on board with that. So if we go back to the example of an attorney that's getting back to networking, the question in my mind would be, well, are you a new attorney, or are you new in your own business as an attorney? And do you have the time to do a little bit more volume? That doesn't necessarily mean it makes sense to do more volume, but do you have the time? Versus, do you have a great client base? Do you have great recurring clients? Everyone's on retainer and you're doing what you do. Then maybe you don't need to have that broad approach because you already have some success. You're just looking to build on that, and having a more laser focused strategic approach may be appropriate for you. Most people that are new to networking, though, there is some benefit to having a broad range of resources that you can use for a variety of issues in your business or your clients' needs. So there's some value to it. But yeah, like you said, if I'm billing out at $1,000 an hour, I may not want to waste 30 minutes on a bummer of a one-to-one.
Right, right. And I think, you and I both recognize that there are a lot of attorneys that are networking with other attorneys as a way to develop business. I'm doing transactional legal work, not litigation. So when something comes around and my clients call me and say, "Hey, I need someone to help. I'm being sued," you need to have some people on speed dial to get them to. So let's take a minute and just give some tips to attorneys that want to focus or have been focusing on the attorney to attorney networking, and let's kind of go back and forth and give some thoughts there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to share an example. I'm sure this will bring up some questions for you, but I do run an event, and it's called It's Legal, and it's attorney only networking. And, when we launched it, I was like, what's going to be like when two attorneys of the same skill set meet? What is that? What happens in that situation? And in our second event, I had two IP attorneys. I knew they were IP attorneys. I saw them sort of coming together, and I'm like, all right, let's pay attention. And it was interesting because they're like, oh, I'm an IP attorney too, right? And so they talked a little shop, which was cool. But what I saw happen, and it was very interesting, was that as they got more specific about their individual work, they found the nuances, the places where they could fit together. Oh, well, I focus more in these areas, and the other attorney was focused in a different, like maybe one was in textiles and one did more, worked with celebrities or models, that type of thing. So they both had their own individual expertise. So what did I learn from this? Two things. One, you meet an attorney, they do the same thing as you, have the conversation. You're likely to find some areas where you can work with each other. And those same people are the best at identifying opportunities for you.
Mm.
So you may be risking lower volume of referrals, but the referrals those people make will be rock solid. And the chances that you're going to close that deal is extremely high.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid if someone appears to do exactly the same work as you initially.
Well, not and then add into, potential conflicts, especially with, bigger firm and mid-market attorneys that, they can't work with this client, but they know you might do the same thing, but they just know they can't work with this company. They've got to turn it over to someone they trust, and you're that person. Right.
Correct.
And then there's also the rate pressures. So meeting with, big firm attorneys as a mid-market or a small firm might sound counterintuitive or productive because, hey, they do what I do. But you know what? They're charging 1,000 an hour. They've got conflicts everywhere. And if they had in the deals you are going to get, if they hand them down to you, could be significant. So there's a number of reasons to, network with quote unquote your competitors, right? Because you never know what you're going to find. But then I think there's also something to be said about finding the 2 or 3 attorneys that are sort of in your same sphere of that they have the same clients you have, but just do things a little different, right? And there's definitely synergies between certain practice areas. Can you speak to that for a moment?
I mean, you said it all.
Nah, I'm killing you.
No,
I'm
I can
taking
speak to
all
it. So
taking all the heat.
it's true across many industries. I know this is a law focused podcast. We're going to keep it law related, but I see it in myself in the accounting space. We're bookkeepers and controllers. I routinely network with my competitors. Why? Because we get clients who are not appropriate for us for one reason or another. There are always some specific need that a client will have that you're just not prepared to manage. And that's okay, as long as you have a terrific resource. I think it comes down to being open-minded. And sometimes that comes from experience in networking. So if you're a newer networker, think about just staying open-minded when you meet someone who appears to do exactly what you do, because you
Yeah.
just never know. And I would say from the service provider side of things, if you're the one referring your client out to a competitor, it's an enormous value to that client. They're never going to forget you. They're going to appreciate that you went ahead and did that or had that resource. It's extremely powerful.
Yeah. And similar to what you do with lawyers and other CPAs and people that just lawyers need to think about what are the 2 or 3 practice areas that are maybe most synergistic. So if you take someone in estate planning and you take someone that's doing big law litigation, and it's a small town, estate planner, that may not be the most synergistic thing. But if you talk about soft IP and patent and soft IP and M&A and startups and transactional, these are the kinds of synergies where there's just more like there's a greater likelihood that things are going to come across their desk that could be valuable, and they just don't do it. And they've got you again on speed dial, and you're getting 5, 10, 15 matters a year from one individual. And geez, can I replicate that and maybe get 5 or 10 matters from more people within that space?
Absolutely. I often think of that situation as being upstream or downstream,
Mhm.
meaning who's the attorney a business person is going to call first? And where do you, when that, like if it's corporate attorney, hey, set up my LLC or my corporation or so on and so forth. Oh, by the way, I need to get my logo registered. I need to do some IP work. What comes next? And who are those? Where are you in that chain of value? Who's before you? Who's after you? That's a big area where you should be focused,
Yeah.
because that's going to be where your clients are going to expect you to have resources. And that's where, like you said, you may be able to get multiple matters per year.
Yeah. So again, if we're looking at this from a time savings perspective, what we're talking about is you can go out and network with everybody, and there's value in building your network wide. Okay. But if we really want to get the business where it's going to be repeatable, multiple matters a year, it's really about qualifying the practice area, the people that have similar clients, the people that have businesses where their clients have needs that they can't handle, and who are they going to send it to? It's going somewhere. Is it going to you? That's the question. So,
Yeah.
um, let's wrap this up with any final tips. Like, what's the best, like, one tip that you do, or that you would tell it to an attorney that we haven't covered yet? Just one final tip that you go, damn, this is a rock solid thing that I do that really works.
The main thing that I do that really works, when I meet somebody who is in a particular industry, I get them talking first. I don't care who they are, attorney, accountant, whatever. I want to get them talking first. I want to ask, what industries do you focus in on, or where is the main body of your business coming from? That gives me the opportunity, when it is my turn to share, to tailor my conversation directly back to the industries that they serve. It helps them recognize that I'm someone they can network with, refer to, and it creates a much stronger memory for them, so that I can stay top of mind, because they feel that we are in the same place, serving the same crowd. I have uncovered fantastic introductions using that. I have gotten referrals for business in a first one-to-one conversation using that technique, and it can be very powerful if done correctly.
Yeah. Really great. Well, let's end on that high note and talk about our game-changing podcast today, which is Real as F, Real AF. So tell us about that podcast, because it sounds like it's something I got to check out.
Okay. So the person who hosts that podcast, his name is Andy Frizella. He's a very successful entrepreneur in Missouri. He owns a large supplement company, and he has a coaching program, and he does motivational speaking and business speaking all over the country. His podcast is high energy. He pulls zero punches, right? He does call people out for where they're maybe not working as hard as they could, or they're wasting their time or energy on the wrong things, or they're just not focused enough. He has a lot of his messages on being healthy, having a good diet, getting enough sleep, keeping your energy up, because business is hard. Fitness does matter. And I find him to be very motivational personally. And I spent a lot of time listening to him. I was turned on to him a couple of years ago by a good buddy. His name's Jeff. And I haven't looked back since. I listen pretty much to every show, basically.
Okay. Yeah. And you know, I tell people selfishly, I ask this question because I want to get turned on a new podcast, but I think it's also fun for people to hear what everyone else is either listening to or reading. And so that's a great one. Hey, as we wrap up, Michael, want to thank our sponsors, of course, Rankings.io. And if you're wondering what they do, they are helping you not just get found on Google, but actually get clients. Like, they are a top tip of the spear in helping, lawyers and law firms get found. So check them out, rankings.io. And of course, the Rainmakers Roundtable. If you're a top rainmaker, if you're a managing partner and your job is to, feed your troops, you need to keep up on that. So part of it is getting me as your coach, and the other part of it is being in a room with 10, 12 other top rainmakers to share ideas, to talk about challenges, overcome them, and just be accountable and have a family away from your firm that you can really confide in. So check out that on fretzin.com. And Michael, if people want to get in touch with you, they want to hear more about ArcLedge Accounting, what are the best ways for them to find you?
The best way to find me is on LinkedIn. You can search Michael Oberther. There's like 2 in America, so I will come up. That's the best place to go. Our website is arcledge.com, and you can learn about our company. You can reach me through there via email. I'm always open for a conversation.
Yeah. And, Michael, right away when you and I met, I don't know, a few weeks ago, we immediately started networking together. We immediately started connecting our clients and connecting our, people that we engage with. So you practice what you preach, which is very important to me, and kind of buying into someone and wanting to continue the conversation. So appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your wisdom.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity, Steve. It was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Good collaboration. And thank you, everybody, for spending time with Michael and I today on the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast, always working to help get you ideas and things that are going to benefit you in being that lawyer, someone who's confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. Take care, everybody. Be safe, be well. We'll talk again soon.